How you doing? It's pretty funny. Like after my talk yesterday, I log into Facebook just to check my messages. I don't really like Facebook anymore these days. It's not that I'm getting old. It's just filled with propaganda, you know. Look at that, not even getting bold in my old age. So basically, I log in and I see what's the first thing I see? It's normalize calling out your racist uncle at dinner. You're not going to change your uncle by calling them out. What you're doing is creating more conflict. You cannot solve conflict with conflict. You can only solve conflict with reason and a lot of, like facts and love. When people show love, and it's a good way of, or humor. Love and humor get through racism. Calling people out at dinner is a very awkward situation where you're creating more conflict. Your uncle won't talk to you again. So what's going on is these people are trying to divide families, and they're trying to take the kids away from the older generation. And you'll see it more and more. They'll be like, normalize this, normalize that. Like, do we have to normalize conflict? Like, it's unreal what's going on with our society. Like, it's unreal. Once you step back and you start to see these signs, things change. Like, you're not the crazy one in society. Society's crazy. You're the normal one in the crazy society. I know a lot of people can't understand the things I say, so they like, who is this guy? Like, it's just crazy. But yeah, causing conflict. There's no way of dealing with any situation. And you see, people are getting more and more aggressive in our society over this, like, because news and media outlets are pushing that, to deal with this, you should get violent, or you should hit people that say words, or you shouldn't. It doesn't solve anything. You hit someone for being saying words, they're going to double down. I haven't made my bed. That's my cat. They're going to double down. You hit somebody for being racist, they don't suddenly go, "Oh, I shouldn't be racist anymore." They go home and they hate you even more. And they hate it, it builds in them. And they will get back at you through other means, start posting more things, racist things, and it doesn't solve racism at all. They know that the people doing this know this, and they're definitely trying to separate generations. There's a wedge, there's a divide happening. Don't talk to your grandparents anymore; they're too racist. Just talk to us. We've got all the answers. It's big boogeyman. Racism and words now are boogeyman subjects. It's ridiculous what is happening. We're looking for ghosts when there are none, Anyway, I want to talk to you about communism today. And this is the reason all this is coming into play is they're trying to bring in communism. They, the people, it's a residual thing left over from when Russia, USSR was around. They infiltrated universities and they infiltrated the Catholic Church and they infiltrated. This is all real stuff. This is some Alex Jones turning the frogs gay stuff. You can look this up and know that is real. The USSR had a goal of infiltrating the church and infiltrating governments and infiltrating secret societies to influence them towards communism. And it's the communistic goals. USA collapsed, but these things continue on. Behind the scenes, you've got these people constantly working towards communism, and it's going to happen because when they've separated the generations so that the next generation all think communism is this wonderful, amazing thing. When the older generation saw it happen in the USSR and understand its downfalls and its pitfalls, there are a lot of problems with communism, and they're kind of hidden from view from these people, from kids and from people that push it and not realize that there are a lot of drawbacks with it. And I'm going to talk about them today. I try and talk this to people in real life, and the thing is, like, I don't have the confidence to argue back and forth, really, but making these videos is perfect for me. You know, like, I can lay down all my ideas and things I've read about and studied about, and I can give them back to you, and you can be like, hey, actually, I didn't know that. You know, there's this thing with I talked a bit about sexuality and how they're using it as a political tool. There's a reason, you know, like, before all this stuff, we used to be under the one flag, and we knew who our allegiance was with, but now we no longer, you don't even, you know, like, fall under the same flag anymore. It's the breakup of society into smaller groups, so you can, you know, push them into, say, communism. The group is better than the individual, or the group is better than capitalism, because blah blah blah. You know, everyone's having these communistic ideas. It's cultural Marxism, is what it's called. You know, everyone's, and you tell people that they're going down these paths, that they laugh. They don't even realize that that's exactly what's happening to them. They've been culturally Marxized. They've been converted into these subgroups that are just turning them towards that direction. You know, China had that many years ago. China's pushing this as well, because they can't wait to see the collapse of the Western world, so they can get in there and be the top dog, and it's going to happen. Because we're idiots, and we won't fight back, because all our institutions are already taken over. Every secret society is, and there are many of them, they've all been taken over, and they're pushing for this. And so are churches, because they've been taken over. So today, let's talk about communism and its downfalls. You know, and I've talked to a mate about this who studied political science. You know, like, and I showed him some stuff that I'd worked on, and he gave me some pointers, and, you know, like, what I could add. One thing is, like, the hallmark of a dictatorship is that it's communistic. It's a given. You know, if there's communism, it's a dictatorship. If there's a dictatorship, it's got communism. It's a really good way of controlling a population, to eliminate, you know, a lot of money. And communism is not the natural order of things. You might say, well, what about, you know, tribal villages? Don't they just share? Well, that's a family. That's a family setup. When they interact with other villages outside their own group, they do use capitalism. Even in Australia, we had flint. Aboriginals used flint as a bargaining, trading in between system. Communism takes a lot of effort through government laws and a lot of policing to keep it in check. There's a reason for this. Let's say I don't like coffee, and I get my allowed coffee every week, because in communism they give you stuff instead of money, you know, or a collective, you know. So they'll give you, here is your packet of coffee, but I don't like coffee. I will swap that for vodka. And then I've got vodka, which I can then trade using that as money. Vodka becomes a money. I could store them up, and I start swapping them just like I would with money. There's a lot of oversight that needs to happen to stop those sorts of things from happening. There's a lot of oversight to stop a capitalist society trying to bubble up, and people try to take more than their share. So you start to see more and more police in certain areas. It becomes a bit, it's like a paranoid society. Anyway, there's a knowledge problem that I read about. So this problem where the hypothetical is, you are in a communistic society, and you are tasked with building a bridge. So how are you going to get the resources to build this bridge over whatever? So you go, well, I'm going to get the cement from here, and I'm going to get the metal from here, and I'm going to get the water from here. But someone comes along and says, well, there's a hospital that needs to be built down the road, and it needs cement more than you do. And there's another bridge down the road that is more important than your bridge. So that cement might go to them next. But in another town over, they're also building a school that needs the cement. So you need to figure out by yourself where to source cement from to make this bridge. So then when it comes to the metal, you have to do the exact same thing. Well, what about, the metal being used in this bridge needs to be sourced from somewhere as well. Like it could be used in the hospital as well. What about the beds in the hospital that need the metal? What about every car that's being built? So you need to get all these resources together, because it's a communistic society. You have to just select them and put them towards it. There is a great way of doing this and sorting out how to get all these resources without having to have this big knowledge bank. I don't know if you know this, computers can't solve that algorithm. It's impossible. It's a computer science problem that you can, you put in all these problems and you try and change one thing in it, and then the computer has to go through every step of it to figure out what's been changed. Computers can't work it out. It's I can't remember what it's called. I did study it, but it's a calculating algorithmic problem. You cannot figure it out. It's like, I don't want to ramble on and lose you guys, but it's a bit like if you have 10 people at a dinner table and you want to rearrange them in certain ways, like actually they're going to have this for dinner and that for dinner and that for dessert. This person has gluten intolerances. This person's allergic to nuts, and you have to figure out all that through a computer. The way computers are. So this is even an impossibility with computers to do. So we can't even use it with technocracy, like a society built on technology. Impossible. Unless we have a new computer like quantum computers or analog computers, different computers altogether. So there's a knowledge problem, and there's a great way of solving this knowledge problem where you can sort it all out is with money. Money is the great sorter of stuff. It will tell you how much stuff there is. Prices go up and down. Where there will be an excess of stuff as well sitting there. No matter what, that problem is very hard to solve. It's a very hard thing in communism to solve. And I don't know how they're going to solve that once they try and bring it in. We'll see. And there's another great example of explaining that problem. You work in some sort of industry, and you are, say, an architect, and you're building buildings. Or say you're watching this and you work in kitchens or you work in schools or whatever. Imagine doing your job, but you have to share your resources with every other industry. You have to share your resources with every other school. You have to share your resources with every other architecture firm. How? It's a logistical nightmare. It's unreal. This problem, like if you watch USSR, you'll see those problems bubbling to the surface. Like it takes 2 years to get a car, and that's because of those logistical nightmares, not because that that's just how communism is. It's a logistical nightmare because of communism. There's no way you could go, well, let's just force it to go up, force it to produce more cars, force us to make more stuff to make this happen. That logistical bottlenecking of stuff We'll stop that from happening every time. It will take 2 years to get a car, no matter what you do, and it's a nightmare. That's why, like, the government has, like, in these systems, it's special programs that it pushes to make sure that things get done, because it focuses spotlight on it. All right, let's get this done. All races get dragged to it, and then it. But then other people miss out. So instead of a project taking 2 years, it'll take 3 years because somebody took the cement I need. Anyway, so what's the next problem? Well, it comes to your farmers. And here's a good saying, like, we got out of slavery. In slavery, they gave you stuff. They gave you a roof over your head and clothes to wear. And we escaped that into capitalism. We used to kind of be communistic because you get fed. That's slavery. And in slavery, we look down at slavery now. People argue, no, that's slavery. What about if I treated my slaves really well, and I gave them a TV here and there, and I gave them, that's slavery, But anyway, let's get back to our farmers here. In this society, communism abandons farmers a lot. It forgets that farming is one of the hardest jobs that we have in our society. Farmers are always overlooked. It is hard to grow, say, a crop of corn. The amount of knowledge you need to make that happen is unreal. And they do it in the hope of earning more money than they would, say, in a business setting. And they give up a lot of things for this. It's part of their soul is given up to do this. I know this. I've got uncles and aunties that farm. You go out there, they're hard workers. And they are always on the edge, like between bankruptcy and having money. Communism won't solve that. Anyway, and what they do it for is that hope of next season getting the money back and having all these cool things extra than your neighbor, because farming is just that hard. In a communistic society, they take away that incentive. Would you do a job that hard to get the exact same thing as your neighbor? You wouldn't. Why wouldn't I just go wash dishes somewhere to get a set amount of things rather than working my butt off in a farming scenario, which is unreal hard and knowledge-based, to get a bunch of things? What happens is people don't work as hard on the farm. This happens in most societies. They're going to get the same amount of stuff no matter what. And even if they fail at it, the system isn't going to stop them from getting things and stuff. Like, they're still going to have a roof over their heads and they're still going to get fed. The fear of not having a roof over your heads keeps you fed and keeps farmers going. I really feel like communism is like this kid wet dream that hasn't been thought through properly. It's like, yeah, communism, let's go. Everyone's going to get off and everyone's going to have a great time. And they go, well, are people really like this? And the more you look into human behavior, we're not robots. You can't take away incentives and think we're going to work the exact same. We won't. People will starve. The second this stuff gets bought in, and it will, people are going to starve. And the reason our society right now is going through this bottlenecking of supply issues, it's getting forced on us. They're going to say, look what capitalism has done. They're doing this through viruses and whatnot. Look what capitalism has done in lockdowns. Let's try something else. It's going to be better. Everyone's going to get fed, and everyone's going to have a great. Neglecting the farmers and the knowledge problem, and the farmers, working maybe 1/4 of their capacity, because why do they need to go full-fledged out and still get the same amount of stuff back. Like, why would you? There's no way like, if you ran kitchens under communism, have you ever worked in a kitchen? How hard it is? And to know that you're going to get the exact same amount of stuff as 3 other restaurants that might not be as good as yours, would give up. Like, you don't work that hard, or you don't push as hard. You go, like, what's the point? If I feed my quota every day, I don't have to make sure that quality is up there. I don't. Like, people, not all people are great people. There are a lot of sociopaths, narcissists. You might be able to do that. Not everyone else will. There's 20% in our society that will completely bring it all down. Like, not care, try and scam it, try to do half-assed jobs. And that whole thing will starve a society and bring us to our knees. It's not very good. You wouldn't do it for that. Then why are we trying to push this on our society? It's unreal. I know there's more to communism. Like, they say that, the collective is stronger than the individual. But here's the thing. Like, if you lived in a castle back in the day, it was easier for you to be raided because you were in a group. If you were an individual living out in the forest, you would, you'd still have all this stuff. That's like like, there is safety sometimes in being the individual and not being associated with these other idiots, and keeping away from them. Yeah, so communism goes along like this, and so you need to make sure everything is working up to scratch. So how do you do that? More rules, more military. That's what happened. More policing. So you need to start policing the fields to make sure that these people are working. I've got a bit of a rash because I'm a bit embarrassed. Speak my mind here. I'm actually worried because you speak out against these things, people just seem to disappear. Like, who knows? So you need to start policing these fields to make sure that farmers, whoever, are working close to their capacity. And you need to go to these restaurants and make sure they are working close to the amount of bureaucracy and the amount of policing also increases, and you start to head towards a police state, which will happen in every communistic society. There's a lot of that's my thoughts for today. Like, it's hard to think of all these ideas and things that on the spot. I just think of these on the spot. I don't write anything down. I just think of them and then spit them out. It's like years of reading and researching all these things. Like the future society will be a bit of both. Like, we'll have a socialistic society with capitalistic intentions, the way you trade will still be capitalism, but there'll always be safety nets and some sort of like socialism, like teachers have, or you wouldn't be able to do communism with money as well, like socialism, because of those exact same reasons. With the farmers, they're not going to do the same thing that the farmer over is doing for the exact same amount of money. It is that incentive and reward that people seek, and the I might become a millionaire does change a lot of people and does create great works. J.K. Rowling might have not been even existed if there was an incentive of making millions of dollars out of what she was writing. It does stifle the arts. Like, if you're an artist and you're creating art and you're getting paid the exact same amount as the next person over, your work starts to lack. And people that are just any old artist gets rewarded anyway. And there is no sorting out of good artists versus bad artists. it is a really bad, like, good way of crippling the arts industry is turning communistic, either paying everyone the exact same amount or giving them just stuff, because money sorts the good artists out from the bad artists. Good artists get paid more. Bad artists don't get paid at all. Okay artists get paid a little. Bad artists, if they're getting paid through the communistic state, will stick in it and pump out bad art. You see this in architecture in USSR. You know, like, bad architects weren't weeded out via money, and they would just, it's like, hey, you got to do this, and we're going to pay you the exact same amount, and we're just going to, that's going to be it. It's unreal. People want this. They've been brainwashed to thinking this is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's not. It's a disaster. It's the melting of people's minds. You've all been brainwashed. Not you, because you're watching this. So, the arts. No, you go to your tattoo, your communistic tattooist. See that? You go to your communistic tattooist, and he's getting paid his standard pack of carrots, bottle of vodka, and bowl of ice cream a day to do his tattooing. Down the road, there's a guy doing the same thing, but he's doing stick characters that are terrible, and they fall out after a week. And this old mate is like, it's like the best tattoo you ever see in your life. Why would that guy? Why would this guy keep competing against this guy for the exact same amount of bowl of ice cream? You wouldn't. And even with money, if you said that the exact same thing with money, for 400 for this guy, 400 for this guy, like, a week, it's just not going to happen, man. Money sorts people out, sorts the good from the bad. It solves knowledge problems. It's a great sorter of things and stuff. The great sorting hat is money. Yeah. So our future, I'll talk about a society that I think we could get away with after all this is done with, after the collapse of our Western civilization brought on by people who undermine. But, I'll tell you some ideas that I've been thinking about in the next video. So there you go. If you are the Catholic Church, or like in a secret society, and you want to shut me up, that's okay. I won't talk about it anymore. But also, I'm not going to stand in your way. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Not that I'm scared of that. It's just funny. Anyway, guys, thanks for that talk. This is awesome. I enjoy talking to you guys, because I actually get all the things that I've wanted to say out with you guys. Because you talk in a group and you get over talked. People talk over you, and they have their ideas. Yeah. We might talk about cultural Marxism in the future, what it's doing to our society, and how it's turning people into brats almost, or like openly mock people because of their beliefs. And that's okay because they're racists, or they get labeled racist, and all of a sudden it's okay to punch them, and it's okay to openly mock them in a society. We need to all get along in a society. Even the racists you need to get along with. It's being, anyway, I'll talk about that in the future. And these other ideas, you might have a really good idea for a society that might run, there's so many different ideas. But anyway, guys, that's my half an hour today, and much love.